Hi guys, I'm Bri.
And I'm Alli. This is Offscript.
If you think about it, books are potential scripts for movies.
When this adaptation happens, typically it's disappointing because they went off script.
In this series, we will be talking about how off script they went. Okay.
Oh my gosh!
Hello!
Welcome to season 6!
How are we here already? That's what I want to know.
How do we have listeners that actually want to listen to us?
Yeah. So much so that we've done this 6 seasons.
Oh my gosh. Almost 100 comparisons.
Yeah, that's insane too.
I know. But yes, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So welcome to season 6.
Happy New Year.
Yes. Man, 6 days in. How are our resolutions holding up?
Yeah, how's 2025 treating you?
Yeah.
Can you tell already just from 6 days in?
I hope so, because I hope it's better than
Good
2024 for me.
I hope so too.
2024 wasn't bad. It was just like, I felt like I was a day behind everything.
Yes. Yes.
I just could never play catch up.
Yep.
And it was exhausting.
Well, literally, I was just thinking today. I was like, I really wish that I could have a week off so that I could catch up on everything that I need to. I was like, yeah, that doesn't happen with life, unfortunately.
No, it does not.
It just keeps going
It
going.
does.
And then you get further behind.
I know. My mom's like, what do you want for your birthday? I was like, I just want a week in a hotel room to do nothing and just sleep. And she's like, okay. I don't think that's what I'm getting. So.
You're like, can you just watch the kids for a weekend for me, please? Let me go.
I might be able to get away with a night, but I'm not sure she'll do a whole week. Oh my gosh. But anyways, you guys, we're kicking off with The Hobbit. Oh, first I'm Alli.
And I'm Bri.
And this is Offscript.
We compare books to their movies.
I know. Do we have to add shows in there now?
Oh, we've been doing a lot more shows. But it's hilarious. I was afraid to do it, and now we're just doing it.
Of them. It actually hasn't been too bad. It's been fun.
I think when we do them back to back, that's when it gets bad.
That's stressful.
That's why this season I only picked like 3, or I picked, but I allowed people to pick 3 series, and then I spaced them out.
Perfect. Well, that'll work.
Yeah.
Because, it's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to let you know who picked what. So, we were suggested The Hobbit by many people at Nerd Party. In reality, they asked for Lord of the Rings. But coming off The Magicians and doing
3 20-plus hour
books, we could not do that again. So, we decided to do 1 book and just 3 movies.
And guess what? It's from the same
universe.
World. Yes. Yeah, there you go.
And reality, you got to do The Hobbit first, right? If you're going in order.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I think Lord of the Rings actually came first. Oh. But The Hobbit is the prequel.
Yeah, interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, I would have wanted to read it first anyways. Yeah. So, I'm happy with how it worked out. So, that's what we're doing today. And so we are doing 1 episode. We know it's 3 movies. It's 1 book. I know we've split books before and done 2 episodes, but that was not needed at all.
I was going to say that's when they were 400-plus page books where it made sense for them to split it into multiple movies.
Literally, it would be a 20-minute podcast being like, okay, that's it. So, no.
Especially since the second movie... Or no, not the second movie. The third movie is like 3 pages right at the very end
of the whole. I was actually shocked. I didn't realize that was even in the book. I thought it was pretty much just the first book, and then, or the first movie, and then the second movie came, and I was like, oh, that part does have stuff from the book, and then the third one was like, oh, there is the battle and all this sort of stuff. So
it's just that a lot gets added into the movies.
Yes. All right. So our picture, I guess we got. Season 6?
Yeah.
That's all I got for you.
Yeah.
That works. Okay.
That's perfect.
So here.
I'm also house sitting, and so you're going to hear dogs in the background.
Hi. That's our life. But you are currently working on getting your place set up
Yes.
And we will have your place as our new studio. Mm-hmm. We'll take a picture of that once it's set.
Yeah. Yeah.
So exciting. Mm-hmm. All right. Bilbo Baggins is a hobbit, and he is persuaded by the wizard Gandalf to join a quest with dwarves to reclaim the Lonely Mountain from the dragon Smaug. That is our synopsis.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think it's hilarious that Martin pronounces it Smaug?
Smaug. Yes.
I was like, I swear it's Smaug, dude.
Smaug,
and then everyone
Smaug.
else said Smaug, and I was like, why are you the one who says Smaug?
Smaug. Actually, you know what? When I've been talking to my kids, I say Smaug, but I think it's just to be annoying. I don't know. That's so funny. So our author is J.R.R. Tolkien, director Peter Jackson, screenplay writer we have Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens, Peter Jackson, and
Guillermo del Toro wrote it?
Sure, there you go. He wrote.
Why did he write it?
One of them.
Oh.
I don't remember which one.
That still blows my mind. He's a director, and he directed Shape of Water, Pan's Labyrinth.
That's cool.
A bunch of random movies that don't really mesh with
The
Hobbit. So I'm like,
that's so funny. I wonder if Peter Jackson was like, hey, just for a little bit.
I bet you. I wonder. They might be buddies.
Yeah, probably. Both directors.
Yeah.
And then I did an audiobook with Andy Serkis.
That's a cool audiobook.
It was. My dad didn't have that one because he has Audible and I use his account. And he had the other guy who, I guess has won awards for reading The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
But when I saw Andy Serkis I was like, Dad, I'm downloading this one. I know you already have The Hobbit on here, but I want Gollum to read my story.
Guess what?
So yeah. All right. So our book came out September 21st, 1937. I don't know why I didn't.
Old.
I did not know it was that old.
Oh, I knew.
That is crazy to me.
But what didn't connect for me, obviously I knew that J.R.R. Tolkien had died before the movies came out, but at the end of the Hobbit book, or at least my book, it shows J.R.R. Tolkien was a writer, blah, 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 and this was his life. And then it said he died in 71. And I was like, my mom wasn't even born yet. I was like, how?
I read somewhere that Christopher Lee was the only cast member in Hobbit and Lord of the Rings to have met him.
Oh, that's sweet.
And he was obsessed with these books. So I thought it was so cool that he got to do that.
That's good.
Yeah. So the movies, The Unexpected Journey came out December 6th, 2012. That's exactly 2 years before I got married. Desolation of Smaug, December 13th, 2013. And The Battle of the Five Armies came out December 17th, 2014. Cameron and I saw opening night on our honeymoon.
Oh, cool.
In Hawaii. It was cool, but it was really embarrassing too because we went to Lahaina in Maui and they have a little theater. It's really cool. If I remember correctly, it's almost like there's this giant tree in the middle of this shopping area.
Sounds very Hawaii.
Yes. And so we go in and we're there an hour early at least. And we're like, so where do we wait? Because, here you got to get there early because this was pre-picking your seats.
Yeah.
So you got to get there early. And she's like out there somewhere? Because people do not line up early there because it's not big enough. And we were hilarious. Well, that's awkward. So then we just went down to the beach and watched crabs jump from rocks to rocks. It was really embarrassing. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. Anyways, so that difference is 75, 76, and 77 years.
Yep.
It's a long difference.
Mm-hmm.
And what'd you do first?
It took me a minute. I wasn't sure which I did first, but then I had to pull out my calendar and do math. I read it first.
I also sort of read it first. It was our 5th grade read aloud, so I didn't really remember it.
Yeah.
But I did remember bits and pieces. I remembered Smeagol's part and all that. But
yeah.
So I don't really know. I'm going to read it first. All right. And what are your initial thoughts of the plot?
It's a fun story.
I think it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But these are my stories.
Yeah, exactly. Why are these your favorite?
I think Lord of the Rings is my favorite because that's kind of it was our first real where I was aware of what traditions were.
Yeah.
It was like our first tradition. I was in 5th grade when the 3rd Lord of the Rings came out. And my parents were like, I think they would like it. Let's watch it. So we sat down and we watched them together.
Yeah.
And then we saw the 3rd one in theaters. And ever since that, we watch them every year. And this year, my kids are actually watching them. And it's so fun. Like, we just watched, we watched The Hobbit with them. And Tyler was like, are we watching The Hobbit tonight? And he, like, made up a song. He's like, The Hobbit, The Hobbit. He's running around. He's like, the dragon. It was so cute. And then, so we started Lord of the Rings 2 nights ago because we do the extended. So it takes us 2 nights for each one. And so last night, we watched part 2 of the first one. And so Gandalf died.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Riley's like, does he come back? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, tell me, you have to tell me. I don't want Gandalf to die. But now Tyler's like, where's Bilbo? Where's Bilbo? I'm like, Bilbo's not in this one, Tyler. Let it
Tyler's
go.
like, I don't like these. There's no Bilbo.
I'm like, and then when we were like, that's Bilbo, he's like, that's not Bilbo. And I was like, I mean,
Not wrong,
I know.
but that's not this movie.
Yeah.
That's
So
hilarious.
yeah. And so then we picked it because
Nerd party people picked it.
yeah, that's it.
And then we put it in January because that's Allie's birthday month.
Thanks. So don't get mad at me. There were 3 movies. So I had to pick a couple extra fun facts here. So I picked 3 for each movie.
I like that she's saying it's because there's 3 movies. This is her favorite series. That's why.
Okay, but I picked 3 from each movie. So I have 9 fun facts today. There was 50 plus for each movie. So the fact that I picked 3, that's impressive. So the first roar we hear from Smaug in the first scene of Smaug's attack on Erebor is actually the sound bite of a special effects director's 7-year-old daughter roaring. And it was manipulated to correct the sound to sound like a dragon.
That's cute.
I thought that was cute. Viggo Mortensen declined a reprise in his role as Aragorn, citing Aragorn is not in the book. And I was like, that's good.
Yeah,
Good for
that
him.
makes me happy because I wish Legolas did that.
Well, okay, so I was thinking that too. And it does say in the book, because this was also a fun fact, that, it says all the whatever elves were there. So Legolas would be there, but Aragorn
Is alluded to highly, yeah.
that would be crazy. Plus, in Lord of the Rings, he says he's like 87.
Oh, yeah.
And this is 60 years prior. So he'd have to be like 20?
Yeah.
How would that work? Legolas, he's an elf.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
true.
like,
That's true.
that would be so weird to me. So I'm glad he said no. The fact that he was mentioned at the end, that was good enough for me.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3. Sir Peter Jackson had said that his first choice was always Martin Freeman. Freeman was initially unable to accept the role due to scheduling conflicts with Sherlock.
Oh,
Great show. Have you seen
it's
it?
the best.
Oh my
I freaking
gosh.
love it. I'm sad it's done.
I know. I'm so sad. But Jackson reworked entire shooting schedules for the trilogy to accommodate him.
Wow.
He really wanted him.
Well, I mean, he's a great actor.
Yeah, I loved him.
Yeah.
Number 4. Benedict Cumberbatch suggested writing and reading The Necromancer, because he also plays the Necromancer,
Oh.
black speech backwards, and then having editors reverse it to make it sound demonic and unholy.
Holy fuck.
That was...
He fucking did it all backwards.
Yeah, he read it all backwards.
So that, I mean, it does make it sound unholy. That's
Yes.
why everyone thinks that all rock songs are played backwards or whatever. But
Oh my gosh.
dang, that just shows. Oh, that's hilarious.
What? Are you reading ahead?
No,
What?
I'm now realizing I wonder if they were able to get Benedict because they also
You just
changed it for Sherlock.
Oh, I see. So that's how they got him too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I mean, he wouldn't have
I've
to do
always
as
known
much.
Benedict was.
I know. I was like, how are you just realizing?
No, that I knew, but I'm now putting it together that I wonder if he was always the first pick, but they
Oh.
couldn't because of scheduling too. So then they were like,
Well, let's do this. Oh, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So number 5, Orlando Bloom performed all his own stunts.
That's impressive.
I thought that was impressive.
Much older than he was.
Much older, and he's like sliding down and standing on dwarf heads. And pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, Sir Peter Jackson admits that he misread the text when depicting the Eye of Sauron in Lord of the Rings trilogy. Sauron appears in this movie as a black apparition forming in the pupil of the eye, which is much closer to Tolkien's descriptions. I know.
Honestly, I think this depiction of it is creepier too.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So I almost wish they did that in the original movies.
I know. James Nesbitt, who plays the dwarf Bofur, in all 3 movies, has 2 daughters who played Bard's daughters.
Cute.
I thought so.
That's cute.
So that means they were sisters, which they totally look like sisters.
They do.
Yeah,
They do.
That was good.
Mm-hmm.
And number 8, despite appearing in all 3 Thank you. Appearing in all 3 movies of the trilogy, Cate Blanchett was only on set for 8 days.
That makes sense because she was barely in the movie.
She really was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And number 9, on Orlando Bloom's last day of filming, after he had completed the scenes, Sir Peter Jackson recorded a video of Bloom covering the viral "They're taking the hobbits to Isengard" on his phone, which I've actually seen that video, and it's so cute.
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. All right. We made it.
Good. Guys, that wasn't even the comparison.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited, you guys. I have to say this because I feel like I'm going to forget. Because I really want to show a picture of it. Because I'm just so proud of him. Was it? Oh no, I don't even remember. I think it. Okay, so Cameron's favorite scene was the end of number 2 when Smaug flies off and he's like, "I am fire, I am death." And Bilbo's like, "What have we done?" Mm-hmm. Well, his friend Cody had like the DVD. But he didn't need the DVD anymore because he did the download. And so he gave it to us. And so he just got a random, because I don't think he had the case for it. So he got a random case and he drew the picture of Smaug on it.
Wow.
It looks really silly. But it looks good. But it's not it's not, it's good.
Professional level. It's
just so fun. And then, so now that's our DVD of it, is we have the Smaug drawing and on it says, "I am fire, I am death." Cameron would quote that all the time. Oh my gosh. Anyways, okay, I just wanted to say that because I really want to show you guys. Okay, shall we get started?
We should start with the movie because the movie starts with the old Bilbo.
Yes.
And you see Frodo. Frodo got brought back for his little 2 minutes of fame in this movie. And then basically it starts with him being like, "I want to tell you a tale, Frodo." And so he starts writing.
It's basically the first scene of Lord of the Rings.
Except for instead of going into Lord of the Rings, we go into The Hobbit.
Yes. So now in the book, Bilbo was a very cheerful hobbit. And he sees Gandalf, and he's very kind and welcoming to him. And Gandalf starts talking about adventures and who he is. And Bilbo's like, no, thank you. Okay, we're good. Bye. No adventures here. And the next day, the dwarves come, and Bilbo's getting pretty frustrated because they keep coming and coming and coming. And then Thorin, their leader of the dwarves, tells Bilbo all about this quest that they're going to do. And he let him know that they might not make it back alive. And Bilbo starts screaming and freaking out. And they put him on the bed to chill out as they continue talking about the quest.
I forgot there's more because Bilbo starts his story with telling the backstory about Dale and Thror and Smaug, and like explaining essentially what the dwarves end up explaining to Bilbo in this first little bit here. But he instead is writing it out. So then this doesn't really happen during the scene when the dwarves come to Bilbo's.
Right.
Also, one thing that the movie does, hardcore, and I hate it. They make the Arkenstone this huge, like, central part of it. And yes, it is a part of it later on, but it's not something that gets talked about all the time. It's not something that, like, because basically they make it almost seem like that is the reason why the dwarves are the kings of the mountain. Yeah. Is because of that stone, because it goes into the statue that Thror had, and like that's what he took because that's what he cared about, and like all of this.
Yeah, I was actually quite shocked reading it and being like, oh, because it's like mentioned at the end, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal in the movies. And then also everyone showed up for tea in the book. And so like in my head, they're showing up at like noon. In the movies, they show up for dinner, which was kind of a difference too, or kind of, it was a difference too, because then all these dwarves were hanging out from like noon until well into the night. Whereas in the movie, it's just like, oh, you've been here for like 3 hours.
Right. Right.
And then when they are telling Bilbo about the quest in the movie, it's a contract. Like he gets to pull out this contract and read this whole contract rather than them just being like, this is what we need from you.
I would also say movie Bilbo was not super
Stressed.
friendly.
Oh. I thought he was too calm, and I also agree he was not friendly.
Yes. He was pretty chilled out, yeah, but he was not, like at the beginning when it describes him as a happy hobbit, I was like, that's not Bilbo. He's pretty cynical.
He's a pissed off hobbit.
Yes.
Also, I forgot. So the story that Thorin tells Bilbo during this scene is the whole fight with Azog, the orc, the white orc, because that's a whole nother bit that gets thrown into the movie. And so that's why they had to do the Dale and Thror and Smaug story before they got to the dwarfs, because then Thorin was going to interject with this whole other
made up
storyline that they wanted in here.
Because orcs are not in the book at all.
No.
There are no orcs.
No, not ever. Because aren't orcs, wow, why am I blanking on his name? Aren't orcs that dude's, like, minions?
Oh, Saruman? The white wizard? Or Sauron, the eye.
Isn't it Sauron?
Yeah. Yeah, and then Saruman makes, like, the Urukai.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought, too. I was like, I don't know if orcs are even really a thing yet.
Nope, they shouldn't be.
That scared me. Or if they are, they're not.
Did you see him talk? He's like, oh, don't do it.
Or if they are a thing, they're not like, I don't know. So the bad guys in the show or the book are all goblins.
And like random things that they come across, like wolves and spiders.
Yeah, but no orcs at all.
Trolls.
Yes. Bri over here being a troll.
I had to figure out what they were. I was like, what's that big dude? So I had to motion like them. I also really hate that in the movie they make Thorin use an oak shield.
Yeah. Because
his last name's Oakenshield.
But his real name is Oakenshield.
Yeah, I'm like...
It made it seem like that's why that was his name now.
Yes.
Which I thought for the longest time. And I'm like, oh, wow. So they just call him that now because that's what he used in battle.
Yeah. No, he had no Oakenshield in the book.
His name is Oakenshield.
I thought that was the dumbest, especially how good is a freaking oak shield gonna be in battle?
The normal shield doesn't work. Is that one gonna work? So Thorin is telling the story about the war, as we just said, that lost them their mountain and how Smaug is taken over. And Gandalf reveals, because Gandalf's there too, I forgot to say that he found Thorin's father at the necromancer tomb. I actually had grandfather in here at first. So was it his grandfather or was it his father?
Wait, sorry, who?
Gandalf reveals that he found Thorin's father, but actually I originally had grandfather. Do you remember? Because he finds his father in the movie.
I was going to say, I think it's father.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Because I think it's Thor, or Thor, however the hell you say his name. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Because Thorin's, or his grandfather, whatever, still died in the battle. Okay. All right. So Gandalf reveals that he found Thorin's father at this necromancer tube. In this long tube.
Where the necromancer hides.
Tomb. And he gave him a map, and then he gave him a key, and he gave it to Thorin to get to the Lonely Mountain. And they had no idea how to get in, though. So Bilbo was like, well, why don't you just go to the mountain and sit on the doorstep and think about it? And they're like, oh, great idea. So they all go to bed and they tell Bilbo their breakfast order for the next day. And he's all pissed off. He's like, I'm not a B&B. B&B? Yeah. Bed and breakfast. B&B.
Or dynamite.
Aren't you glad we're back, you guys? And he wakes up, though, and no one's there. And he's so relieved. He, like, just relaxes and just makes himself breakfast and goes about his day.
Yeah, that happens.
And then he's having a relaxing morning when Gandalf comes running at the door. And he realized, Bilbo, you didn't do your morning chores because you didn't see the note we left you. The dwarves are waiting at the Green Dragon for you, but you have to get there by 11, and it's 10:45. Bilbo's like, oh my gosh, and he races out to meet them because all of a sudden he wants to go, or he forgot he didn't want to go, or Gandalf's making him go, one of these things. And, or all of them. And
Yeah.
Gandalf comes close behind with all the possessions he forgot because he's like, oh, I forgot my handkerchief and I forgot this. And Gandalf brings it to him.
In the movie, Gandalf does not come. It's just Bilbo chilling, hanging out about his day. And he's like, oh, yeah. And then he has the contract and he's like, Then he's like, actually, I want to go.
I'm going on an adventure.
As he runs, holding his contract and letting it fly behind him. That's safe.
Right. Dramatic. It's like a little kid with their kite.
Yeah. Going on an adventure. And then when he gets with everyone, he's like, oh, shoot, we need to turn back. I've left my hanky. And then, like, the dwarfs are ripping off pieces of their clothing and giving it to him.
So nasty, too. So gross. Oh, my gosh. All right. So they're on the road. It's been good. They've been staying at towns and different inns for a while, but now they're on the real adventure, and there's no towns anymore, and they're in this nasty weather. And they notice Gandalf just disappeared, and they're sitting there trying to get warm and find food, and then they see a fire in the distance. And they're arguing about who should go, but eventually they're like, oh, let's send the burglar, Bilbo. And there are trolls there. Oh, because we didn't say that. The reason that Bilbo is hired is because Gandalf said he's a burglar, and they need a burglar to get into the Lonely Mountain. And Bilbo's like, I am not a burglar, but thanks for that. So they find out this light is trolls, and they start arguing with each other about food. And Bilbo's like, oh my gosh, okay. And he goes to leave, but eventually they find him. And he accidentally lets slip that, yeah, there's more dwarves around here somewhere. And then they find all the dwarves, and they're getting ready to cook them. And they're arguing with themselves about how to cook them. But it's Gandalf making them argue, because Gandalf's in the woods going like, we should squash them into jelly. And then one of them's like, that's a bad idea. And then Gandalf says something like, it's a great idea. We should blah, 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 blah. And so they're arguing with themselves because they don't realize
there's third person.
Yes. And so then Gandalf cracked the rock, and they were made into stone, and they found, and then all the dwarves and everything found the cave. Actually, I don't think he cracked the rock.
I was going to say that's one of my differences. That's the movie. He does not crack a rock. He just did it so that
the sun came up.
Yeah, they wouldn't realize the sun coming up.
And they found the cave, troll cave, and all the shelter, and they found some food, and they found lots and lots of gold.
In the movie, at this point, we see Radagast, another wizard, running through the woods, finding dead animals, freaking out, and trying to save them as spiders are attacking him. And it's essentially the movie being like, Sauron is the eye, right? I always get Sauron and Saruman mixed up.
Sauron, Saruman, Arwen, Eowyn. I'm like, why? Yes, Saruman is the wizard.
It's the wizard. Yes. Sauron is the eye.
Yep.
So it's essentially being like, Sauron's back. And so the forest is dying and the animals are dying and there's a bad darkness on the horizon, which is not a thing in the books.
I want to say I did hear Cameron's dad. He told me that they had taken, the movies had found Tolkien's son had created,
Aaron Ryan. Yeah.
Said this. He took all of Tolkien's notes that he wanted, how he wanted to relate everything in the whole world. And so Peter Jackson took that and they implement. That's
Oh.
why there's so much extra stuff in the movies.
That makes sense.
So it's really what Tolkien wanted. It just wasn't in
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit. So
Well, also, like, because some of the things that happen is, like, Gandalf hanging out with
Lady
Gladriel.
Galadriel.
Yeah, Gladriel. And with, fuck.
Elrond.
Thank you, yes.
Saruman.
Yeah, hanging out with all the wizards.
Elves and wizards. Yes.
Yeah, and, like, it's, like, mentioned. It's, like, one sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, it says about something. So, yes, everything that does happen can be construed in that one sentence in The Hobbit.
Yeah. But they just went into way more extra.
Yeah.
Like this book could have been
One movie.
It could have been one. It could have been done really well in two.
Mm-hmm.
So
it originally was supposed to be two.
Oh,
Don't you remember that?
No, I don't.
Oh, it was supposed to be two.
Oh.
And then they were filming the first one and decided, we're going to make it 3.
Oh. Because they wanted to add all this extra stuff.
Yeah.
So if they didn't add the extra stuff, it would have been perfect as 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
And then this whole part is just so different in the movie, too. Because they freaking, first off, Gandalf gets mad at them and storms off.
So they know he's gone.
Yeah.
It's not where'd the wizard go?
Hold on, where is he? It's we pissed him off. We gotta do this on our own now. And then, next thing you know, they're setting up camp and their ponies go missing. Mm-hmm. So then Keely and Feely are like, hey, Bilbo, you're our burglar. You should go look into it. And so then, Bilbo's like, I'll go, but I'm going to need you guys to come with me. Like, I can't fight. So then they go, but then they ditch him once they realize it's trolls.
Yeah, they're like, go on, you got this.
Yeah.
You're a burglar. You can be quiet. Go get the ponies.
So then, freaking Bilbo's just going to burgle and take the ponies, for real. But then he's sneaking up behind a troll, and the troll has to sneeze, so he's trying to grab his handkerchief and grabs Bilbo. And then a huge fight breaks out between Bilbo, the trolls, and the dwarfs. Mm-hmm. But then they end up getting caught. And so then they all get caught and get put on a skewer to be roasted above the fire. But then Bilbo hears one of them say something about how they need to be quick before the sun comes up. And then he's like, oh, quick thinking. So then he starts asking them questions and like, I know how best to cook the dwarves. You should do it this way.
You should skin them. I'm like, that was the worst idea because they could just do that right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, why did you? I mean, yeah, you start with one and the rest of them might be fine, but what? And then as the sun's coming up, that's when Gandalf reappears on top of this rock and he breaks the rock. Mm-hmm. And I honestly really think they just wanted to recreate the "you shall not pass" without doing
I can
it,
see that.
because that's exactly what that looks like to me.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird.
Like, I don't like it. I'm like, you just ran off angry.
I didn't mind that Gandalf came back. It was the sky was dark until the rock. I'm like, I don't think that's how sunrises work.
Would still make it pretty light. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Gandalf's like, hey, I ran into some friends from Rivendell. We're going to go there. And so they finally got to Rivendell, and they spoke with Lord Elrond, and the dwarves and the elves don't really get along. But they were civil to each other, and Thorin showed Elrond the map, and Elrond gave Thorin a fancy sword, an elven sword, and Elrond shared that he had to get into this mountain, or to get in this mountain, they needed to use the last light of Durin's Day. And
that happens.
Yeah. I would say the only difference is that
Elrond doesn't give him the sword.
No, because Thorin found the sword in the troll cave.
Oh yeah, thank you. Because now after the whole troll attack, they go into a cave and they find a bunch of weapons, and and Bilbo's glows blue when there's orcs and goblins nearby.
It's fancy.
Yet that's not a thing in the book.
No. They were also chased by, in the movie, they were chased by...
I was just going to say...
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I will just say this, because right after they get their weapons, Radagast finds Gandalf in the group, so he meets back up with them, and then
they get chased by wargs and goblins and...
Goblins, orcs.
Oh, orcs in the movie. You're right.
Because no goblins are
There's
in the movie.
no goblins until that one scene.
Yeah.
And they fall down, or Gandalf's like, come here, and they go into another cave, and it leads them to Rivendell. So that's how they get there, instead of Gandalf being like, I have friends, let's go.
Yep. And then the group's being hunted by the orcs.
Yeah, because we got to add some drama.
Exactly.
So they are on the journey. Oh, I'm sorry.
Since we are no longer in Rivendell in
Yes, no.
the book,
We're done with Rivendell.
I'm going to talk because now this is when Gandalf meets up with Galadriel, Saruman, Elrond to talk about the darkness that he's been feeling in the forest. And Galadriel is like, you're carrying something with you. You must show us. And he has a sword from the necromancer in Dol Guldur.
Dol
Guldur. Dogguldor. How the hell do you say it? Dogguldor. So, I'm going to name my dog that.
Dogguldor.
Did you put your name on the collar? Harry said Dogguldor.
Oh my gosh. Oh no.
But anyways, basically, Galadriel now sends Gandalf on this whole thing because she's like, you need to go take care of the necromancer, which she then ends up saving him. So why didn't she just go with him?
I don't know. You know what? There's so many of these characters. I'm like, you were pointless until the last minute. Like the eagles.
Oh my god.
Like everything. I'm like, you guys are useless.
Yeah.
Until you decide not to be. Oh my gosh.
Also, I'm going to make a note here. Thorin is a dick to Bilbo. Like,
yes.
In the books, that's not really a thing. Like, they all don't trust him fully, especially since he didn't want to be on the journey. But man, in the movies, every which way he can, he's like, he shouldn't be here. He didn't even want to be here. He should be back in his hobbit hole, and makes very derogatory derogatory phrases towards him too.
It's kind of sad, but I think it's because then that makes it so
I was going to say.
the end. Like,
Yeah.
Ah.
All
right. So they're on their journey now, and a thunder battle breaks out, and the mountains are alive, and they're throwing rocks at each other, and it's pouring down rain, and Thorin sends his nephews, Fili and Kili, off to scope out a way because they are the youngest dwarves, so they have better eyesight than everybody else. And they found a cave to stay in, and they begin to fall asleep, but Bilbo woke up because he heard screaming, and the whole kerfuffle breaks out, and Gandalf is there, and he tried to stop these goblins that came, and they stole them all, and they brought him down and began questioning them about why they're there. And they said they're honestly just looking for a place to sleep. And then they saw Thorin's goblin cleaver, which was his sword, and the goblins begin to flip out on them. And then they share how Gandalf had shot them with magic up there, and they begin to flip out on them more. And then they try to run and escape, and Bilbo's on a dwarf's shoulders, but he ends up falling off and hitting his head, and he can't remember anymore.
Basically, this happens except for how they get into the goblin thing is like they're sleeping in the cave, and then the floor just falls out from under them like a trapdoor.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Bilbo's not on a dwarf's shoulders in the movie, is he?
No, I don't think so.
No, he just gets like hit in the head or something.
He crouches down.
Oh, yep.
And so everybody run past him because, that's why hobbits are burglars, because they
are tiny. No one sees them.
Yep. So Bilbo wakes up, and he has no idea where he is, but everyone's gone, and he's wandering around, and he finds this small ring, and he puts it in his pocket, and then he keeps going, and he comes to this small lake, and he sees the creature Gollum, and Gollum sees him and comes over and tries to be polite because he hasn't seen people in so long, and he's like, okay, people like riddles, so I'm gonna play with this guy and do riddles. And so Bilbo asks if he knows a way out, and he's like, well, let's play a game of riddles, and whoever wins, if you win, I will give you whatever you want, and if I win, I get to eat you. And Bilbo's like, okay. And so they begin, and they do many, many, many riddles, and it's finally Bilbo's turn. He can't think of one, and Gollum at this point is annoyed that he hasn't been able to eat him yet. So he's like, you're done. And then he just out loud is like, what do I have in my pocket? Like he genuinely forgot. And Gollum misunderstood and thought that was a riddle. And Bilbo decided to play along with it. And Gollum gets 3 guesses. They're all wrong. And Bilbo tells him, or doesn't tell him what's in his pocket. And he's like, I won, so you have to show me the way out. And Gollum's like, okay, fine. And he went to go get the ring from his little island because he's going to go kill Bilbo anyways. And he then freaks out because his ring is gone. And then he realizes, he's like, what has it got in its nasty little pockets? And a little tiff kerfuffle happens, and some of the goblins come down, and Bilbo put the ring on, and he ended up escaping.
This basically happens, except for in the movie, Gollum's already started the riddles before the whole agreement for, oh, I'll play this game with you if you show me the way out happens. So
I also didn't feel like in the movie, I felt like Bilbo genuinely was thinking that what's in my pocket was a riddle. Like, it didn't seem like he was just like, what is in my pocket? Like, talking out loud. It seemed like he wanted that to be a riddle. But I don't know how you would show.
I was going to say, because he literally, to me, it didn't seem that way because he, like, had walked away from Gollum and turned his back to him and was looking out over the water in the cave and put his hand in his pocket and was like, huh, what have I got in my pocket?
Okay.
So to me, it felt that way.
Okay. So then they're all freaking out because now we're back with the dwarves. And they're all freaking out because they lost Bilbo, especially Gandalf. He's like, you lost me, my burglar, go get him now. And they're about to go back in, but then he appears and they continue their adventure. They're all miserable now because the ponies are gone, so they have to walk for a long time. And then they hear wolves and they run for it. And they climb trees, and these wargs meet up with them, and the goblins are working together. So then here come the goblins. Bilbo almost didn't make it because he couldn't climb the tree because he's so tiny. And so the dwarves had to help him up. Gandalf shooting fire down at them, and then this caught the attention of the eagles. And then here they come, and they decide to save the dwarves, and they brought them to their nests.
Well, what's funny is, like, in the movie, it's very obvious that the eagles are Gladriel's eagles that are coming to save them.
Really?
Yeah. Because before she sends Gandalf on his quest, she's like, she says something about the next time you need help, let me know.
Oh. I missed that part.
Yeah. It's like the briefest, like, little thing where you could miss it. The first time I watched this, I was like, where the fuck did the eagles come from? And then
because he did the little moth thing again, the butterfly thing. But in the whatever it's called book, they just came on their own.
Yep. Also, it's the orcs that are chasing them. So then there's a whole face off with the orcs because then Thorin realizes that it's the white orc that was like where he needs to get his vengeance out because they had a fight forever ago. And so he's like, I'm going to kill this guy. So he goes and almost gets his ass kicked. And then Bilbo runs down and kills a freaking orc.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
It was odd. I don't know. And then
this is the end of the first movie, too.
Yeah. And it didn't seem like, so like the whole point or we get to the 5 armies, we'll explain. But the wolves or the wargs are one of the armies. Because in the movie, it looks like they're just the orcs, right? It looks
Pets.
like, yeah. But no,
it's because in the book, there's no orcs.
Right.
And so in the movie, the army that's the wargs is the orcs.
Yeah.
But
and so the goblins and the wargs work together, but it's not like the wargs are the goblins' pets type of thing.
Yeah.
Which helped me out when I had to figure out what the 5 armies were. Because I still was like, well, what are the 5 armies in the book? Or in the movie?
No, I think they're counting like the elves, the people of Dale, the dwarves.
And then the one orc army and the other orc army?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I always thought it was. And I was like, that hardly should count because they're the same thing.
Yeah. Especially to me, I'm like, the dwarfs, the elves, and the people of Dale are all kind of fighting for the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, in the book, it's because everyone wants the mountain.
Right.
Whereas in the movie, it's, oh shit, there's orcs.
Let's
fight them. So then I'm going to say, because now our first movie has ended and the start of the Desolation of Smaug is started. And we start in a bar with Thorin and Gandalf coming in to be like, here's your new quest. Yep. And literally Thorin tells, because Gandalf is like, you need to reclaim the mountain. And Thorin's like, I only care about getting the Arkenstone. That's all I want.
Yeah. Again.
I was like, you don't care about your mountain? Your home? Where you were supposed to be living? Okay. Okay.
All right. So the next day, the Eagles, like, wake up and they're with the Eagles and they send them on their way. And Gandalf let them know he can only be with them for a couple more days because he has other stuff to do. So, what a great wizard. So but he's going to find someone to help them out. So he found Bjorn. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Bjorn?
Bjorn. Mm-hmm.
And he's a skin changer. And they found his house and Gandalf's like, okay, come in pairs so we're not going to upset him. And they do, but Gandalf keeps letting slip like, oh, the party or the troop or whatever. So, like, Bjorn's like, that sounds more than 4. That sounds like more than 5 and blah, 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 blah. And so he's getting really frustrated. And eventually they all get out there and they told the story. And Bjorn was really into it. He's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And he offered them a place to sleep and food. And the next morning, they can't find Gandalf or Bjorn anywhere. And Gandalf comes back and shares what he was doing. And Bjorn comes back and says, I was looking for the goblins to verify that your story was true. And it is. And Bjorn gave them instructions on where to go and how to stay safe. And as soon as they get to Mirkwood, it's full of illusion magic. So be careful. He let them borrow ponies. And he said, return them before you get to Mirkwood. And as they're on their path, a bear creature is following them. And once they get to Mirkwood, Gandalf told them to let the ponies go and good luck because I have to leave. Like, the one time they need a wizard.
Yeah. So what's funny is every time I reread this, I always think that I remember them going in twos to the person's house, but this does not happen in the movie.
It sort of does. Did you watch the extended version?
No.
Oh.
I stayed away from the extended version.
It does in the extended version. Because I didn't remember it either. I was like, that would have been so funny. And this time around, I watched the extended version, and it does happen. And it's so funny.
I was just going to say, what?
It happens.
Did they just cut out him running in the forest with them before they get to the house?
No, so he chased them in the forest, and then they barricaded themselves in, and then it's the next day.
Oh, and that's when they go
That's when they go out, and he tells, I think it's Boffer?
Yeah.
Which is the one with the hat?
I don't know.
Okay. So
I can't keep him straight.
Kind of the goofy one with the hat where he's like, when he's first talking about Smaug, he's like, yeah, you'll burn up. It's like that one. Yeah. Okay. And Gandalf's like, okay, only come out in twos, but wait for me to give the signal. And so Gandalf's just out there talking, and he'll move his arms as he's talking, and he's like, okay, there's a signal. And he'll keep sending them out. And they're like, oh no. And so finally they all got out there, and he's like, it was actually a really cute scene. I'm sorry they cut it out.
No, I think that's dumb. Because literally it's just Bjorn's chasing them as a bear. And then they're essentially in his house. And then they wake up and Bjorn's cooking them breakfast. And it's like, hey guys.
Wow, they cut out a lot.
There you go.
Yeah. How much they cut out. Bummer.
And then, and then the rest of it happens.
Okay.
But what's funny is Gandalf doesn't leave. Oh, he didn't leave him yet, right? Oh, he did leave him already.
Outside of Mirkwood.
Oh, well.
Gandalf really bounced out.
I was going to say, I love my note. But a lot happens between, because this is me talking about the...
Well, then go for it.
Because now we're with spiders.
Oh. No, wait.
Yeah.
So they get into a river and... Wait, let's try that again. So they're in Mirkwood, and they're on the path for a while because they were told not to leave the path. And finally they get to this river. They were also told not to touch the water, but they have to get across. And eventually Bilbo saw there's a boat on the other side, and they use a rope to climb over, and one of the dwarves fall in. And they got him out, but he's sleeping now, and he won't wake up. And eventually everyone gets across, and they have to carry this dwarf the rest of the way. And now they're lost, and they decide to climb the trees to see if they can see where they're at. Bilbo climbs because he's the lightest one. And they're in a valley, so he can't see a way out. And finally, Bomber wakes up, and he's complaining about how hungry he was, and he had amnesia, basically, and he had the best dream. And he eventually lets them know, hey, my dream was about this place, and there's a feast over there. And they see these lights, and they keep following these lights, but they keep getting lost because they're getting off the path. And they're getting nervous. No. Sure enough, they get lost. Okay, so they found each other again after they kept getting lost. And this time, we'll just send Bilbo out because we'll find him. We'll stay as a group. But when they found him again, he was asleep now. And he had the amnesia. And it's like, they're just bad news. Making bad choices. So, in the movie.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really remember any of this.
Okay.
I remember them being in the forest. And I remember Bilbo climbing up and being like, guys, it's over there. We need to go over there.
Yeah, so that was a difference is Bilbo saw the mountain.
Yeah.
Which he didn't. Pretty much none of this happens.
Yeah.
Except that they had to get across the river. But they, climbed a tree instead of the boat.
Yeah.
The main thing that happened was that it was full of illusion magic, and
I do remember
to stay on the path.
A dwarf does say something about how I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
And talking about a dream he had with a feast.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, no.
Yeah. So Bilbo eventually wakes up, and he also has the same amnesia, but that the other dwarf had, and he was starving too, and now they're attacked by spiders. And Bilbo had his ring on, so he got away. He heard the spiders talking about how they're going to eat all the dwarves, and Bilbo finally got them free, and they battled the spiders, and Bilbo finally told them all about his ring, and Balin was super interested in the story, and then eventually they realized Thorin is missing.
Freaking Bilbo never tells anyone in the movie about his ring.
Never.
It's his secret. And then at the end, Gandalf, it's like, I know about your magic ring. And you would think if Gandalf knows the lore and everything, he would be like, let me see your ring.
Yeah.
Rather than just like, be careful with rings. They're finicky things.
Yes, they are. Oh my gosh.
And so when the spiders attack, Bilbo doesn't have his ring on. And so he gets caught and they all get caught and they're all like, how are we going to get out? And the elves show up and save the day. And guess who's there? Legolas.
Oh, Legolas. I'm just so mad they did him so dirty in this movie.
I know, he's a dick.
He's such a jerk. And they like changed his eyes and everything.
Oh yeah, his eyes were weird.
They were weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like my only thought, not with the eyes, but the being a jerk part, is that...
to show how much he hated dwarfs.
Yeah, and that, it's 60 years between this and Lord of the Rings. So, I mean, that's a long time for him to change his, attitude and stuff. But I'm like, I wish he was Legolas. But then the whole love triangle story couldn't happen either if he was not a jerk.
Exactly. So then we meet Tauriel, who's a woman elf, who is also with Legolas there to kick ass. And they save the day and take the whole party into their town and locks them up.
Yep. Except Bilbo.
Oh, yeah.
So,
except for Bilbo.
Which is the same.
Oh, because this is when Bilbo puts his ring.
Yeah, now he has the ring on.
Once he's out of his web confinement, he puts the ring on because he realizes, like, oh.
Yep.
I don't want to be a part of this.
Yes. So, in the book, pretty much the same thing. It turns out Thorin was taken by the elves, and he's not telling the Elven King anything, so they lock him in the dungeon, and soon all the other dwarves are caught, and Bilbo escapes with his ring. So, yeah, pretty much the same thing. So Bilbo is, with his ring on, passing messages to all the dwarves, because they know about the ring, so they know he's invisible right now. And he finds out that from over here in the elves, that the wine barrels are being emptied tonight. So he watches the guards get drunk, he steals the keys, and he puts all the dwarves in the barrels, which they're not happy about. He puts the lids on the barrels, and then sends them off, and he realizes he's not in a barrel. Okay, I have to say this about the writing style. I loved it. Because at this point specifically, it was like, Bilbo realized something that you probably realized long ago if you're paying attention. And it's like, Bilbo was not in a barrel. I just thought it was so cute because it's like Tolkien was telling us the story, not that
he was writing
the story. So he climbed into a barrel after he fell into the river, and they got down to Lake Town, and they exited, and the bargeman takes them without realizing that they're dwarves.
How do you not realize that they're dwarves? But anyway. Bilbo isn't passing messages. Instead, is it Keely or Feely? Which one falls in love with the elf?
Keely. No. Yes.
Keely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Keely is now chatting up with Tauriel because Tauriel's been tasked with, like, I can't even remember what she's supposed to be doing with them, but she ends up sitting there chit-chatting with Keely. Mm-hmm. And Bilbo's finding a way for them to escape. And then he finds a way for them to escape. And definitely in the book, they put lids on all of the barrels. But in the movie, no lids.
That's because the epic scene can't happen if they're
locked. Exactly. Because now there's a whole battle with the orcs as they're floating down the river in their barrels. And Keely gets shot with a freaking poison arrow, which I'm like, if he's supposed to die at the end of this, why did you save him from that?
I know.
Like,
add to the hurt when he goes.
So he gets shot by a poison arrow and is not doing good. And the orcs are fighting him. So then Legolas and Tauriel have to come and save the day again. And everyone escapes in their barrel. And then they meet up with Bard. And Bard puts them in his boat with fish on top of their barrels. I liked it better in the book because in the book, he basically made a raft out of their barrels. And, like, Bilbo got to sit on the raft with his ring.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, he was like, wow, I feel kind of bad that everyone's stuck
in the barrels as I'm sitting up here.
Yeah. But in the movie, they all got in barrels with fish, including Bilbo.
That was so funny.
And then this is when my note comes in. Gandalf really bounced out.
I know. For where? What happened?
I know. I'm like...
So once they got to their final location at the bottom of the river, everyone wanted to speak with the captain. And the dwarf said, take us to your king. And he was reluctant at first, but he eventually did. And when the king found out that it was Thorin, the whole place erupted in song about the prophecy. And Dale is a poor country ever since the dragon came and took over. But that was so long ago, everyone thinks it's a myth that the dragon's even up there. And the king is very excited to see Thorin, sends his party off to reclaim the mountain. And there were some elves at the bottom of the river that brought back the message of what happened to the Elven King, and he was not very pleased.
So now that the dwarves are in fish barrels, Bard's trying to get into his town, and there's this dude who's like, you can't come in here. What are these barrels of fish? You can't bring these in. And he's like, you gotta dump them out into the water. And Bard's like, you really think the town people are going to be happy that you're dumping these fish? No. So then the guy's like, oh, fine, you can keep these, but you're not supposed to be bringing in fish. And Bard's like, okay. So then he gets them into town. And then I can't remember who, but someone comes up to him. And, oh, it's the kid. And it's like, our house is being watched. So then they have to find a sneaky way to get the dwarves into town, and they make them climb up through essentially the sewer and up through Bard's toilet to then figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to get to where they need to go. And Bard is like, I have weapons for you that you can use. And of course they're all homemade, so the dwarves aren't happy about that. And it's like, where can we get good weapons? So then Bard is like, the blacksmith shop, but they cost an arm and a leg. And the dwarves are like, we're going to go steal them. Which also, if you have a burglar, why did like 6 of you go to steal?
Right?
So these dwarves go and try to steal these weapons and get caught.
Yep.
Oh, also, when they get caught, the like town leader is talking to everyone and is not happy that Thorin is there.
Right.
And when they talk about trying to get to the Lonely Mountain, something gets brought up, and it's made mention that Bard's ancestor is who missed shooting the dragon. I was like, you're really just doing that to make a link so that when he shoots the dragon in this, it's like, yeah, you did it. Your ancestor couldn't. And then when they're about to be on their way to the mountain, fucking Thorin's getting in the boat and Keely tries to get in the boat and he's like, you're of no help to us. You need to stay here. Because he's why they got caught from stealing weapons. Because he was like, I'm fine, as he's carrying weapons. Then he fell down the stairs because of his poison arrow shot.
Yep.
So then Keely gets left behind and 2 other dwarfs decide to stay behind. So now their party has split up.
Yep. I did like how, so I did not realize how much singing
Oh, yeah.
happens in this
In the
book.
book. Yeah, the
Like-
book is a legit musical.
It's so many songs.
Mm-hmm.
And they did all of them in a way in the movie. So, like, one of them was the townspeople broke out in song when they found out it was Thorin, right? And instead of singing it, Bard just recited the prophecy, but essentially the song was the prophecy. So, like, they had the songs in the movie, but it might have just been a line or something like that.
The first one had songs in the movie.
Yes, it did. The goblins, the mountain song, and
the blunt the knives and the vent. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates.
I love that one. Have you ever seen the cartoon Hobbit?
No.
Oh my gosh, it's so creepy. But they sing that song, and I remember loving it as a kid. Oh my gosh.
Hey, so maybe you watched that first before you read it.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know when I watched that. I could have. Oh no.
Allie might be lying to you.
I know. I do not know what age I was when probably would have been before 5th grade. Oh, great. I'm still saying I read it first. All right. So now they're trying to get Bilbo in. Oh, wait, in what? Oh, I skipped the part. Where are they trying to get him? So they go on their adventure up the mountain, and a couple of them were too fat to continue. They're like, this is too hard. So they chilled out at the bottom. So that's my thoughts as to why they kept Keely and Feely and them down there, because not all the dwarves made it to the mountain.
Oh, maybe.
So that was how they kept some of them away. But I don't really know why it matters.
Because the ones at the bottom ended up coming up to the top anyway.
Right. So I don't know. So
And I mean, the people in the dwarves who stayed in the town did end up after the dragon was gone.
Yeah.
But I was like, you're really going to take these people, like, this is your homeland.
I know.
And you're really going to be like, you can't go.
Right.
And then, like, when freaking, because it was Keely and his brother Feely, and then one other dwarf. And
the funny one.
Feely was like, Uncle,
Yeah.
I'm not going unless my brother can go because we've both been dreaming of this day
Right.
for forever. And Thorin's like, nah.
Nah, I need to go get my money.
Yeah, I need to go get that Arkenstone.
So they go on their adventure up the mountain. Oh, I said all this. And once they get to the top, they have no idea what to do. So daylight happens. Nothing happens with the mountain. They're very frustrated. And then time goes by. And finally, there's a keyhole. And Bilbo's like, there it is.
This drives me crazy. I hate how they do this in the movie.
What part?
I hate that it's not a keyhole. I hate that they get up to the top and they're like, where is it? And like Bilbo walks around and then he finds a staircase that leads up to what will be the door. And I'm like, first off, if it's something that obvious, how did everyone miss it?
That was my thought too. He's like, keen eye, Master Bilbo. I'm like, it is like the biggest staircase in the world.
I was like, what? Did you all just think that it was like decorations? Like,
oh my gosh.
so yeah, I did not like that in the movie.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Also, at this point, Thorin has now told Bilbo that he's the one who has to get inside and steal the Arkenstone. And it's not even, because in the book, it's just to like go see if the dragon's alive or there. Whereas in the movie, it's you got to go find that Arkenstone.
Yeah. Like, what a needle in the haystack request too. All right, so they go in. Oh, you got more?
Oh, I guess I could say, because now in the movie, we're back with Gandalf. And he's at a set that's from Lord of the Rings. It's Sauron's place.
Oh, yeah.
And he's fighting, and fucking the orcs are chilling there. And they're like, oh, he's gonna break the wards and he's gonna find us. And the next thing you know, there's a whole fight with freaking Gandalf and Sauron, because Sauron also appears and is like, you can't fight me.
And Galadriel comes. Is that this part or is that the next movie?
No, that's this part.
Okay.
Yeah. So then Galadriel, Saruman, and Elrond all show up to help fight because Gandalf can't fucking fight. He's too weak. Which again, Galadriel, why'd you send him if you knew you were going to show up? And then Galadriel turns into like a fucking zombie person. Like,
in the Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it was weird. All right. So now they've gotten into the mountain and they're like, Bilbo, go down there. And he's not excited, but so Balin's like, okay, I'll go with you a little bit. So he goes in and eventually he puts the ring on and he goes down, but he wakes up Smaug. And he takes the ring off because this dragon magic is like, makes him take it off. And they're talking and Bilbo starts talking in riddles to keep Smaug occupied without revealing too much. But that failed and he revealed too much, like that he was a barrel rider and that there were other people with him. Mm-hmm. And Smaug shares about how the dwarves probably tricked you and they just wanted you here and weren't planning on giving you any money. Like, how are you supposed to get home? And now he starts questioning everything. And Smaug knows the smell of dwarfs, so he goes out and he eats their ponies. And Bilbo goes out and talks to the dwarves, and they're outside, and they see this thrush bird. And the other dwarves down below, they're like, we gotta save them because the dragon's out here. So they bring them up, and now they're all hiding in the mountain. And Bilbo confronted the dwarves about his 1/14 share, and he feels better about their conversation because they're like, we're telling you the truth. You can have a 14th of the share. And Bilbo went back to talk to Smaug because Smaug came back in. And he ends up escaping all this fire. And he's like, we have no chance. Like, we need to just hide out. And Smaug's not happy because he's looking for them and he can't find them. And he's destroying everything. And finally, he recalled that Bilbo called himself Barrel Rider. And he's like, that means you're from Lake Town. And so he goes down there to destroy Lake Town. And this is when we learned about the Arkenstone.
So Bilbo does go down there. Bilbo wears the ring the majority of the time that he's talking to Smaug. And Smaug can see him with the ring on.
You like smell him and see the money clapping all around.
And he doesn't talk in riddles to Smaug, does he, in the movie?
I mean, he kind of does the same. He just doesn't ever really answer his question. He keeps going, oh, Smaug, the great and terrible. Mm-hmm. They call me Barrel Rider and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. So.
And he was able to, he found the Arkenstone.
Right away.
Yeah, easy.
Sea of money.
Yeah.
I'm like, that wouldn't be at the very bottom. Okay.
Yeah. Especially it's this heavy, like, opalescent gemstone thing. It would fall through the gold, especially with how long it's been there.
Yes. Smaug, like, moving around. Like, it would have fallen all the way down. But Hollywood.
Yep, exactly. And so he finds it and pickpockets it and keeps it for himself. And he doesn't really go and talk to the dwarfs about his 1/14th share until the next movie. And then while all this is happening in the mountain, orcs have now started attacking the lake men.
That's right.
And the elves, Toriel has already been on her way here because she knew that Keely was shot with a poison arrow, and so she knew she must save him. So she's been dealing with that. The orcs came to the town. Legolas is in love with Toriel, and so he's been following her and trying to convince her to not be in love with the dwarf. And then the orcs come, so he's like, well, I get to be badass and kill a bunch of orcs. And this whole battle's going on. And then the dwarves end up being able to get into the mountain because Smaug is preoccupied. I don't know. But the dwarves get down into the tombs and they see all of their dead ancestors, which also what dwarves just toss the dead into.
No, I think what happened was they were trying to get to the one way out that was left.
Oh.
And they went that way, but all these other dwarves also tried.
And had died. Okay. That makes way more sense because I was like, what are these guys doing here?
Just throwing all the dead bodies.
Here's the room for the dead. We don't need to put them in tombs or anything. And then there's a whole entire fucking dragon battle inside with Bilbo and Thorin. And then he runs out. And this is where I think they have awful CGI with the gold.
Fire, I am
Yeah.
death.
Mm-hmm. I also think the dragon is horrible too. I think they could have did him a little bit better, but
I thought the dragon was the only good CGI they did in that movie.
oh, for sure.
My
And I think it's still shitty.
After going back, so we just started, I said Lord of the Rings. I'm like, this movie that came out
Way before.
12
because he
years
did-
before.
It's because he did practical.
Yes, but
effects.
even the CGI parts, I'm
Yeah.
like, they look so much better than the freaking Hobbit, and I am just
I'm really
livid.
So I can't remember which one, whether it was the second one or the third one, but I know that they kept having to push it back, the release back, and it kept being because of the CGI.
So they were just having trouble with it.
I don't fucking know.
But
I'm
I'm
like,
like,
if you're having trouble with it, fire those people.
Yes,
Hire new people.
because it was
Get new
so
people on board.
Awful. I'm like, I remember that was my first comment to Cameron as we left the theater for the first one. I was like, why did they CGI the orc? Like, fine, CGI everything else, but your main bad guy that we are focused on the whole time is the worst CGI like ever.
Especially like, I think the color of his skin too makes it even worse because he's like this pearly white. So then you
Yes.
can almost see everything.
Yes, I'm like, I was just so disappointed. It kind of just busted the whole series. I'm like, it's just, that's all you focus on
Mm-hmm.
is how
Mhm.
bad the CGI is.
Mhm.
And it's such a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it could have been
Loads better.
loads better.
Also, this is the end of the second movie, and now we are on the third movie.
And I have just like 1.5 pages of notes left and
I only
for a
have
whole
like,
movie.
I only have like a page and a half.
Okay.
I literally, my next note is whole last movie is maybe 3 pages in book.
It's true. So now that the dragon's gone and they know that he's going to Lake Town, they're like, whatever, let's look for food. And so they're wandering around looking for food. And this is when Bilbo finds the Arkenstone and he pockets it. But he's lost in this huge dwarf cave. So he's calling for help. And this is when Thorin gives him this mithril shirt. And they decide to leave the mountain because they have no idea where Smaug is. So they're like, well, we're probably safe.
My next note is that who knows if this all happened because the book follows Bilbo. So, of course, there's no way to tell what all happened outside of the mountain or outside of what happens with Bilbo.
Yeah.
And this part pretty much happens except for the first thing you see with the dwarfs is Thorin just yelling at them for days on end to find the Arkenstone. And he's like freaking out about the Arkenstone. And everyone's like, oh, he's got the dragon sickness and all this crap. Mm-hmm. And then when Thorin gives Bilbo the mithril shirt, he then breaks down and is like, I'm being betrayed. Yeah. Someone has the Arkenstone and they're not telling me.
I'm shocked that you wouldn't think it was Bilbo.
That's one of my notes, actually. If they had Bilbo steal the Arkenstone, why are they searching for it?
Yes.
Like, why haven't they gone to him and been like, did you find it?
Like, I mean, I know they didn't because then it has that scene where they make us think that he's confronting Bilbo about it, and then it's not. Mm-hmm. But logically, okay.
It's dumb. Yeah. And then there's a whole scene where Bilbo's trying to get the dwarfs to just leave the mountain because he's like, Thorin's gone crazy. He's sick. It's not good for us to all be here. We should go. And the dwarves are like, well, we can't go. I'm like, this is home.
Mm-hmm. So the lakemen see this mountain lighting up and they're like, the dwarves are making us gold. And then Bard's like, this is when we are introduced to Bard. He's like, no, the stories, the dragon's coming to destroy the town. And sure enough, here comes Smaug. And this little thrush bird comes down and lets Bard know, because he can talk, that Smaug has a hole in his hide. Mm-hmm. Also, Andy Serkis, my throat hurt listening to him. He did it like this.
Oh,
he
God.
talked that bird in that voice, and that was like a lot of bird talk. I was like, can you stop? Like, my throat hurts so bad listening to you. I wonder if he started it and he didn't realize how long it was that he had to do that.
I hate this.
So Bird's telling him all this sort of stuff. And then we find out that this dragon attacks and Bard shoots him down. Like, that was it. It was the quickest, like, battle. Mm-hmm. And the king tried to dip, and the town has been destroyed, and the towns are like, I wish Bard survived. We would name him king. And then Bard comes out of the water. He's like, I just dived into the water to save myself. And they're like, yay! But then they confront the king because they're all pissed off at him. And he's like, you should be mad at the dwarves. They awoken the dragon. And then the king realizes, oh my gosh, the dwarves are dead. There's a bunch of treasure up there. So the thrush bird lets them know, hey, the elven king will be on his way soon. And so will many others.
There is no thrush bird in the movie.
There's like a bird that flies, and Gandalf's like, that's a thrush bird.
Doesn't help out.
No.
And basically this whole battle is like an hour of the movie. And maybe 45 minutes. And
no, it's like 15 minutes. We timed it. Because I remember going in, like, because this was the third one. So
you'd think that the whole movie is going to be against Smaug.
Yes. So we go in and we're so excited, right? Because I am fire, I am death. We're like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Battle dragon battle dragon. And we sit down and we're watching it. And it's like, we timed it. 12 minutes. 12 minutes, the dragon's dead. Cameron and I look at each other, we're like, what the hell? Like, that was our battle? That was what we waited a year for?
Yep.
So bummed. And then the kids, like, they love the dragon too, but they wanted to see it die. And we're like, because we were done with the movie, and it was bedtime, we're like, sure, we can watch the whole rest of the dragon part. Yep, 12 minutes.
And it's not a hole in his hide that kills him. It's because they use a black arrow?
It's a black arrow. But I mean, they had to shoot it in the hole.
But he didn't find out about it. He just shot it.
He saw it. Because somehow, Smaug flies up a little bit and shows his chest like freaking a mile down the road.
Yeah.
And Bard's like, I see it.
That's where I have to shoot. And then we're freaking... So Lake Town is basically destroyed because of Smaug. And so the only reason Bard wants to get to the mountain is because he wants a place to sleep for the town. He doesn't want the gold. He's not like, ooh, there's gold in there. He's like, we need a place to sleep. The only logical place is the mountain.
Yeah, so they go to Dale, which is right outside the mountain.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then there's also, at this point, I can't remember who. Actually, it had to be Gandalf. Probably Gandalf and not Galadriel. Maybe? I don't know. Someone's talking. Oh, no, this is the big fight with Sauron. Gandalf just ends in a cage in the last one at Sauron's place. So the Galadriel battle hasn't happened until now. Okay. Because now Galadriel comes and they're talking. And they're talking about all the different rings that have been made.
Oh, yeah.
I was like... Save that for a different movie, guys.
Literally the start of the next movie.
Yeah.
So, here come the thrushbird again, and it lets the dwarves know Smaug is dead. But also, a bunch of people are coming for the treasure. And this pisses Thorin off. Here comes Bard with messengers, and they're like, we want 1/12 of the treasure. And Thorin shot an arrow towards him. It stuck in Bard's shield. And Bard's like, fine, you can eat gold then, because we're not feeding you from down here, and you got no food up there. And there is no thrushbird in the movie, so they just were hanging out outside of the mountain. And they essentially have been watching. They've just been standing up there, like, watching this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, how's this?
Yeah. Oh, there's the dragon. Oh, it's killing everyone.
They do. They watch it. Like, how horrible. Like, you're watching this town burn, and you're like, we did that.
My bad. Whatever.
Your thoughts aren't, oh my gosh, Feely and Keely and
what's
his name right down there. Oh,
so, and then they see Smaug die, and Bilbo's like, Smaug's dead.
Yes.
And then the rest of that happens.
Mm-hmm. So Bilbo decided to sneak out, and he convinced the dwarves that was on watch to take a nap, and Bilbo would take watch. Well, he didn't take watch because he went down to see Bard and the Elven King. What's his name? Whatever. They just called him the Elven King. I don't think they ever named him in the book.
No, they did not. He was named in the movie, but I just know Lee Pace plays him.
Yeah.
And it was he got cast as this right after he was in Twilight.
Oh, who was he in Twilight?
He's the nomad. It's Breaking Dawn Part 2 when they're getting all the vampires together.
Uh-huh.
He's the nomad who falls in love with the Denali Coven girl.
Okay.
Mm-hmm, the one who's like, shock me.
Oh, cool.
You don't remember.
I do remember the story. I don't really remember the movie part. Okay. So, Bard, he went and met Bard and the Elven King and like Thandril or something like that. He let them know that the dwarves have friends that are coming to help them in this battle. But then he shows them the Arkenstone. And he's like, this will help you negotiate. And they try to convince him to stay here because they're like, they're going to kill you if you go back. And he's like, whatever, they're my friends. And so he goes back and Gandalf is there and walks him out.
In the movie, Bilbo doesn't, he sneaks out, but he doesn't have to trick anyone to do it. He just leaves and gets to the town.
He talks to, what's his name? The hat guy.
Oh.
Is this a deleted scene? Or did that
happen? I was going to say it did not happen in mine.
Okay, yeah, he talks to him, but it was like the dwarf knew. He's like, he was nice and was like, you can go, without telling him to go,
oh, okay.
Yeah, we understand type of thing.
Okay.
Because at this point, Thorin is just full on, crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think in the not extended version, this is when, or nope, I don't know. All I know is it just was weird because he was in the mountain. The next thing I know, he was in the town, and I was like,
that's so weird. They cut out the weirdest parts.
Yeah. And he ends up staying the night in the town. He leaves them at some point in the middle of the night, but he's not like, oh, I got to get back to my friends. He's like, yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it was in the book, he's like, I have 5 hours, and that's all I have to do this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Nope. He hangs out.
So the next day, Bard and the Elven King and everyone come to the mountain, and they're like, hey, we're here to collect our money. Maybe this will change your mind. And they show him the Arkenstone, and Thorin is pissed because Thorin accused them of stealing it, and Bill was like, they didn't steal it. I did. I took it as my 1/14th share. And Thorin went to attack him, but Gandalf stopped him, and then Bilbo went down to Gandalf, and then the dwarves' friends came, and the wargs, and the elves, and the men, and the terrible battle happened, and Bilbo slipped on the ring, saw the eagles come, and then he was knocked out by a rock.
Bilbo was never knocked out by a rock, and he did not slip the ring on right away. It took him a hot minute before he put it on. And the elves don't try and fight at first. At first, they are chilling and not doing shit. And then they start fighting because Toriel goes to Elf King, and she's like, this is the one battle you don't want to run away from. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I only have one more note.
Okay, perfect. So Bilbo wakes up, takes off the ring, and we find out Thorin is dying. And so he goes over to say goodbye to him. And Thorin apologizes one last time. And they did this burial with him. And Bilbo said bye to everyone. And he went back with Gandalf, dug up the boxes of treasure at the troll cave, and then he went home.
Thorin does not, because this is back in a town. They're all good. Thorin's in a nice cozy bed as he's dying. Mm-hmm. In the movie, Thorin dies right after his battle with the White Orc.
And before Thorin dies, Fili and Kili die.
They do in the books too.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that part.
You did. No, they both die.
Oh, that makes me sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Riley was doing real good until they all got shot, and then she had her eyes covered the rest of the movie. It was like, oh.
Yeah. No, they do die.
Okay.
Before Thorin dies. Right. But I think it gets told to him. So
Bilbo didn't see it.
Because Bilbo got knocked out
pretty quickly.
Yeah, okay. It was at as Gandalf was taking him to Thorin. He tells him of everyone who had fallen. Yeah, it was literally just Fili, Kili, and Thorin.
Yep.
I was cool. That whole bloodline is gone now. Yep. Great. And so Fili and Kili do die in the movie, and Thorin dies on an ice block, basically.
Yes, after his battle with Azog.
The Defiler.
Yep. So, movie ends. or book ends. Actually, movie kind of ends this way too. Bilbo got some rest in Rivendell before his long adventure home, and when he gets home, Bilbo's house is up for auction, and all his furniture and everything's gone, and like the Saxville Bagginses are stealing his spoons and all this sort of stuff. And finally, he had to convince everyone to give him his stuff back because he's alive, he's real. This is Bilbo. And then we learn about Dale and how it's doing really well, and the king got under dragon sickness, stole a bunch of their money, but then he died too.
We don't learn anything else about Dale, but the rest of that does happen.
And then we get our flashback to the scene before Lord of the Rings, where old Bilbo
is like, we don't want any, when someone knocks at the door, and he's like, not even an old friend?
Oh, Gandalf. Yep. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have casting. As IMDb cast. In movie 1, 121 people. Movie 2, 212 people. And movie 3, 200 people. Now, granted, most of them were the same.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yes. But we gotta go Ian McKellen as Gandalf.
Yep, he's great.
Perfect. Martin Freeman as Bilbo.
I love him so much.
I love him.
He's so good. He's such a good actor.
Richard Armitage as
Armitage.
Yep, there's no T at the end of that. As Thorin.
He did really good.
Yes, he was good. Ken Scott as Balin. He was the old dwarf.
Yeah, I liked him a lot.
Graham McTavish was Dwalin. He was like he was the dwarf that first showed up at.
Oh, yeah. He was good.
Then Feely and Keely. We got Dean Gorman and Aidan Turner.
Dean O'Gorman.
Oh, or Gorman, sorry.
It's all good. I really like them both.
I think they did really good. Hugo Weaving is Elrond.
I love Hugo Weaving so much. It's so crazy because he's such a good bad guy. So then to see him in this role, I'm always like...
I've only seen him as bad guy in Captain America.
Matrix.
I watched Matrix once, and that was many, many years ago.
Oh, yeah. He's typically a bad guy.
Oh, that's funny. And then Kate Blanchett is Galadriel.
She was good.
Good. She was good. Christopher Lee is Saruman.
It was kind of nice seeing him in this.
I know.
Nice.
Right.
But, yeah.
Actually, fun fact I didn't put in is that Christopher Lee was shocked when Peter Jackson wanted him back because they had a falling out because one of his scenes was cut in either Return of the King or Two Towers. He died in Two Towers, didn't he? I don't know. And
I can't remember.
But it was cut for the theater that was put in for the extended. But so they had a fight. And so he was shocked when Peter Jackson was like, yeah, we want you back.
Aw.
I know.
Cute.
Andy Serkis is Gollum.
Love him.
Yep. Sylvester McCoy is Radagast the Brown.
He was cute. He was
so cute. I loved him. I'm sad he wasn't in the book. Like he seemed like a fun one to read and write and stuff. Lee Pace as Thranduil, as Legolas's dad, Elven King.
He did good.
Good job. He was a bad guy. That wasn't a bad guy. He was just a selfish guy.
Yeah. He was a king doing what most kings do.
Yep. Orlando Bloom played Legolas.
Loved it.
Love him.
That was my first movie crush.
Oh my gosh, mine too. So cute.
I walked around shooting bows and arrows because I was like, I'm Legolas.
Yep. And Evangeline Lilly is Tariel.
She wasn't in the book, but she was fine for what she was.
Manu Bennett is Azog.
Again, you weren't in the book, but he did good for what he was.
I guess so. Sucks that you looked ugly and fake. Your voice was fine, though.
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch was Smaug and the Necromancer.
Love him. He did so good.
So good. I love that we had just watched The Grinch.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, Riley, that's the Grinch. And she's like, no, it's not. And I was like, I know. It doesn't sound like him. Michael Persbrandt. Brandt? Bjorn.
He was fine.
Yeah, he seemed like a skin changer.
Yeah.
Luke Evans was Bard.
I love Luke Evans so much.
Me too. Did you when you first saw him?
Orlando Bloom.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Was this Luke Evans one of his first
Yeah.
Big roles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think he was in one movie prior.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it was. So then I was excited for this, and then he was guest on.
Uh-huh. That
Yeah.
was fun. He did a good guest on.
Yeah, he did a really good guest on.
Yep. Is the theme of the book and movie the same?
Yeah.
Literally the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do the characters stay true?
Some of them not so much.
Not 100%, but I'd say for the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And which do you prefer?
The book.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
For what reasons?
I don't like all the added shit.
Oh. Even though that's really, he wanted that in there, it just wasn't in the book?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Mm-mm.
My only frustration. Oh, sorry, you go.
This is my second time watching. Okay, no. The first Hobbit movie I've watched multiple times. The rest of them, this was my second time seeing them.
Ugh. We watch this movie every year between, like, right before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
This year we had to watch it a little later.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched it many times.
Yeah. Nope. I stay away from because the CGI gets me.
It is
I
hard.
can't.
The CGI is really hard. But that's why we watched this one first. Because if
Mhm.
I watched Lord of the Rings first and then this, I'd be like, I can't handle it. So we watched this one first. But no, I gotta go movie just because of the nostalgia.
Mhm.
But also, the only things I really can't stand is the CGI and them making Legolas snotty.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I love everything about it. Would you recommend it to a friend?
The book, yeah.
Both, yes. Okay, that's it. We did it.
Yeah. It's actually not a long episode either.
Not too bad.
No.
No, not at all. For 3 movies,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Proud of us.
Mm-hmm. So we have a website you can go to.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's all updated. I have to I'll probably fix it by the time this comes out. But I just went on there on my phone, and the schedule part looks real wonky.
Oh.
It looks good on your computer.
Yeah.
Go to the computer version, you guys.
Oh, that's hilarious. There you can rate us, subscribe, and review.
To all of our channels.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, TikTok, Instagram,
Facebook. Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast.
Yes.
Do it all.
Do it. Okay. So you guys, this year, because Bri has a job now,
Yeah.
and she is also an extra 20 minutes away from me, so it's not a quick drive over to her house and record an episode.
Yep.
And then my life's always crazy. We decided mini-sodes will happen, but they're going to be sporadic and random and surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't ever really let you know if a mini-sode's coming because we don't know.
Yep.
Just-
Good luck.
Just take a listen for Wednesdays. We will post if there is one. We're not going to post if there's not one, though.
Yeah.
I think so. Just we'll let you know day of.
Professional.
Oh my gosh. Well,
But Monday.
we do know that we have an episode for you.
Monday we've got Uglies with Busy Reading Romantasy podcast.
Yeah, that was a fun collab.
It really was.
Mhm.
It was actually, I just edited it and I was actually surprised. I was like, wow, this is actually really good.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of listening to it right now.
Yeah.
So it works. I can
Oh,
listen to it.
good.
Mhm. But yeah, so that's a fun one.
Mhm.
Come on, keep listening to us.
Help us out.
Yeah. But now that we're on a new platform, it's working a lot better, right?
And it's crazy. We switched from one platform where we would post our stuff to a different one, and holy crap, we're already at almost 400 listens, and we haven't put out new shit. I mean, we put out 3 new episodes, but like
That's crazy because so how many have we had from the other platform? We had like 3,000.
3,000 over the course of what?
3 years.
years.
And within 2 weeks, we've gotten 400. That's bananas.
I learned from the Instagram group it's because the Spotify only pushes certain ones that perform well. So if you're only getting like 2 episode downloads, they're not pushing you.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Well, thanks, Red Circle.
Yeah.
We
you're the
appreciate
best.
you.
Yeah. I know. At first I was like, oh, maybe this was a dumb idea. And then I like started watching our numbers and I was like,
Should have done this 3 years ago.
yeah, what the fuck was I making with stupid Spotify.
Oh my gosh. All right, you guys. Well, we'll let you go.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, The Hobbit
Went off script. Bye.
Thanks for sticking with us.
We hope you enjoyed it.
If you did, we would greatly appreciate it if you gave us 5 beautiful stars, reviewed, and subscribed.
You can also follow us on Facebook at Offscript, on Instagram at Offscript Podcast 21, and on TikTok at Offscript_pod.
Shoutouts to Madame Ashen Creations for our adorable logo art.
And Adam Daniel for our incredible theme song.
And to Creative Cinephile Productions for producing our podcast.
See you next time.